Hello, Assalamu alaikum everybody. Hope you're all safe, sound, and healthy. And I'm obliged to be back with a part two because, as always, the minute I ended my previous episode, I realized that there were a few points that I actually failed to mention, even though I kind of jotted them down on the description box, and probably that's probably going to confuse people even more as to, hey, where did she talk about that? Um, uh, I'm assuming I didn't talk about this, so as we know, Maryam Nawaz, her protocol, which is illegal by the way, because if you remember, when Imran Khan came into, when he started his tenure as prime minister, when he formed his government, one of the first things that he ensured in order to stop the bleeding of money from the treasury was to finish all protocols, because that was excess money. It was useless, unnecessary, and he, as it is, because he was already a hot favorite amongst people, still is, he never had any reason to use protocol. He has always moved amongst the people. He has walked amongst the people. He has driven amongst the people. And he has never stopped any traffic, because he also knew, having been amongst us for such a long time as an ordinary citizen, whenever these people came into power, one of the first things that they did was disrupt traffic with their long escorts, with so many cars of escorts in the name of protocol, which is again at our expense. So, once again, Maryam Nawaz, not only does she steal the mandate and insert herself as an illegal chief minister of Punjab, then the minute she does that, she starts robbing us blind by taking all our money and spending it on her personal needs and wants, like buying a new car, getting maintenance done, getting tires, this and that, upholstery, whatever. And now then she spends more money on her protocol, on her escorts. And as it happens, when she was in Narwal, she, together with her number of escorts, together with her protocol, one of the cars, they hit a young boy. And now the worst part here is not that they just hit the boy, but also that they did not stop. They hit him, they moved on, they did not stop, they did not even call the emergency services, they did not call the ambulance, they did not call Rescue 1122. They just moved on as if nothing happened, as if they didn't care. And now, because it became such a, obviously the public created a fuss about it, the mainstream media was obliged also to mention it because there was no other way. The family of the boy, they are in so much pain that the fact that they left him there to die, literally. Now this, obviously, if we actually had a practicing legal framework, they would be held accountable for attempted murder or even for manslaughter, attempted murder, or actually murder, because it would have been manslaughter if it was unintentional and they actually tried to do something about it, but they actually left the boy to die. So that would actually come under intent. It could come under murder. The fact that they just left him to die, they didn't even call for the emergency services. And by the time the emergency services did reach, it was so late, the boy had already passed away. And his father also fainted in, because he was so heartbroken that he just collapsed. And when everybody made such a fuss about it, just check out what Maryam Nawaz's goons are saying. They're saying, no, the boy was hit by a motorbike and then he came against a car and this and that. First they said that, you're putting all the blame on Maryam Nawaz when she wasn't the one who was driving and all. Nobody put the blame on her. Everybody said from day one, from the start, that it was one of her cars, one of her escort cars, that disrupted the traffic. Not only have they always disrupted the traffic, but this time they actually hit a young boy and left him to die. Now, that's the worst part. You hit a boy, accidents can happen. If you remember during Imran Khan's, when he was doing the march, then there was a female journalist from a local news channel who was trying to uh, basically, to film the whole thing. She was trying to, record the whole thing, and she fell and she died. And Imran Khan did not say, "Oh, it's not my fault." He immediately halted everything. He suspended the march for that day. They went, they apologized to her family, you know, they took part in the funeral. Unlike Maryam Nawaz, who just coined it out of there, you know. Again, I would remind Maryam Nawaz, if you were a real princess, you would be spending your own money out of your own pocket on the people, and then you would actually have the right to call them whatever you would like to call them. But you are our servant, you are beneath us, you are at our mercy. How dare you act like that towards the people of Pakistan? And I have a problem with the people of Pakistan too. Again, what's with the slave mentality? You should have you should have literally dragged those people out of their cars. You should have shut their cars, taken their keys away, and you should have beaten the bejesus out of them. Because obviously the police would never do anything. You, the people, should have stopped the cars, dragged them out, beaten the hell out of them. What were you guys doing even? You should have known that this was going to happen with a woman like her, that she would leave the boy there to die just like that. She wouldn't even bother to call for the ambulance. You should have held her accountable on the spot. I mean, you're just, proving her point by letting her get away. You just proved her point. And on top of that, because as I said, these are the by-elections now in Punjab, and this has once again made the Punjab government, panic. So they've once again imposed the Section 144, which I mentioned. I'm sure I mentioned that. And obviously, as I said, that's not, there are two things that they're always doing, and it's getting beyond annoying. Number one, imposing Section 144 to stop crowd gathering and to stop people from campaigning, right? And number two, always a terrorist incident. Always. So once again, very conveniently, an attempted terrorism was foiled. A police officer paid for it with his life, and I would like to know, how long are they going to continue playing with people's lives like that by initiating terrorist encounters, by paying and hiring people, by working with India even? They've gone to that extent so many times that they've actually worked with India to allow the raw agents, giving them the green signal that, oh yeah, you can come and, do your thing. And sometimes they've actually hired people who would pretend to be terrorists, and they would be so easily foiled, but always at the expense of somebody's life. And this time a police officer died. The foreigners, and it's strange, isn't it, that this time the foreigners that they keep trying to attack are always the Chinese, just when America wants to take over Gwadar. Seriously, you want us to fall for that? Every single time there's an election, because they know they're going to lose badly, they know, again, people are, because again, once again, as I said, the public are campaigning for the PTI workers again. The PTI workers don't need to do their campaigning. The public is going to do it for them, just as we did it in the main elections, the general elections. So Maryam Nawaz is shitting in her pants, and her panties are in a twist, in a knot, and she has decided to impose Section 144, as if that's going to stop anybody. Seriously, did it stop anybody before during the elections? No. So these diversion tactics that they're using to delay the elections, to rig the elections, to mess with the elections, to mess with the people, to mess with the Constitution. It's getting too old, it's getting too boring. Just like how the American tactics of inciting wars and terrorist incidents, it's getting too old, seriously. And people are having enough of it. It's, if anything, it's paying the people off, and the people will probably react to it even more aggressively, as in more aggressively than we all did during the elections. Because in the elections we didn't react aggressive. In the elections, what we did is we campaigned for the PTI contestants, and then we went in a very, very disciplined, very, very quiet manner. We all voted. We did not give them any chance to disrupt the elections, but they still did at the end anyway, but they couldn't disrupt the actual voting. But this time, the people will show their aggression again in a different way. And once again, the government will be trapped. Instead of trapping us, the government will be trapped. So, yeah. I mean, what's really peeing me off is a government that cannot even give you steady electricity, a government that cannot even give you subsidized items, that have taken away all the subsidies from you. That government that is expecting you to pay thousands and thousands in your electricity bill when you're not even getting steady electricity. Can you imagine? Almost every day for a few hours, we have the power supply that is completely unstable. It's so unstable that it literally rocks from extreme low to extreme high voltage within seconds. And this goes on for hours even sometimes, like today. Today it went on throughout the day, off and on, and throughout the night constantly for at least 2 hours. And when I messaged them with the complaint, as always, can you imagine what their first question was? Is this only in your house or is this in your area? I'm like, isn't this your job to know? Why should I know that? I mean, seriously? I mean, look at the gall of these people, that you're actually asking me, how the frack am I supposed to know if my whole area is affected? I can only tell you about my freaking house, you bozos. They pay me off every single day with their incompetence, the fact that none of these people are there based on qualifications or merit. And as we know, the Brits have always done that with all the colonies that they allegedly, withdrew from. And they very openly did that. In fact, they even messed with Russia in that way. When, they said that the best way to destroy a country is to just put useless people, unqualified people who don't even know what they're doing, put them at the highest, most strategic posts, and they'll do the damage themselves. So yeah, Maryam Nawaz, it's no compliment to you that they chose you. You can see why they chose you. You're the very definition of that. Not just you, your father was, your uncle is, your whole family is. I mean, your family is even worse than Trump. I mean, the kind of reputation that Trump and his family enjoyed, imagine that you are even worse than that. I'm telling you, even Zardari probably manages to stay safe from the people's wrath when compared to Maryam Nawaz and her family. This is how much they outdo and outshine others in their incompetence, their low life, behavior, attitude, their gutter snipe ways, They are even worse than the nouveau riche, they're worse than, people always talk about bourgeois, but I think bourgeois is actually the benchmark of a civilization. What people should have a problem with is the nouveau riche, the black money ones especially, and these, so-called elites, because these are not your genuine crème de la crème, These are the worst of the worst, the gutter snipes. The Prophet said that when the end of the world will be near upon you, if you remember, there were many signs that he had given. Those are basically milestones in your civilization that can help you understand where you're at, time-wise and civilization-wise. One of the milestones is that the gutter snipes will outnumber the the gentlemanly people, or the noble, the genuine nobles, not those self-declared nobles, but the genuine noble blood, as in the decent people, the people who give importance to values and morals and principles, and education, and basically to character and decency. Those people will be outnumbered by the gutter snipes, the ones who are corrupt, both in character as well as in financial means. Those who are dishonest, those who are the lowest of the low, character wise, morality wise, value wise, principle wise, you know. And so when I do also say that we need to, if you really, really, truly, honestly, sincerely want world peace, then the Western world needs to be destroyed. Then we're not talking about the people, remember. We're talking about the establishments. We're talking about the insane, demented people who are ruling and running the Western world and using their power, to inflict chaos, throughout the world. So the regime, the Western world order, the Western world regime, the Western world establishment, the Western world politics, their leaders, the whole caboodle, it needs to be destroyed. And it's a fact, as I said, it's a fact, whether you like it or not. It is a fact. Because, as I said, when you are outnumbered and you have realized now that you're surrounded by such kind of people, then the steps that you need to take need to be taken according to the kind of people that you're dealing with, the parties that you're dealing with. So, and this is fair. This is absolutely fair. You are allowed to deal with people in their own level if push comes to shove. So, yeah, drastic measures need to be taken because we're working against desperate, insane, delusional, psychotic people, who, as I said, have this delusion that they own the world and that that they're the real gods within the world. I mean, they have a god complex, and it would do them no good, but it would do us no good either to let them go on with this. So you need to nip it from the bud, which obviously nobody ever did, which is why they've reached this length and this point. And so again, I would say that even now, there is only one way to take care of that, both within the country and outside of it. We need to crush them and destroy them completely. That is the only way, I'm sorry. Otherwise, it's just going to be that cycle on and on and on and on. And that's it. Well, this is me signing out. Khuda Hafiz.